In France, people continue to mourn slain teacher Samuel Paty. The 47-year-old was brutally killed last week in what was declared a terror attack. In response, as part of its pledge to fight hate speech, the government ordered the closure of a mosque accused of having links to the gruesome murder. Well, we're going to cross live to Charlotte Dubensky, who appears to be very close to the mosque, set to close its gates soon. I mean, Charlotte, clear that the French government's not shying away from taking decisive action here. What more do we know?
Well, we know that several organisations are being shut down as a result of the attack on Samuel Paty almost a week ago here in France, and that includes the mosque behind me. This is the Grand Mosque of Pantin. Now, the reason the order says on the front of the mosque that it is being closed on Wednesday is because that is for the sole purpose of preventing acts of terrorism, and that's because this mosque, which has around 1,500 people who regularly come and worship, posted a video inciting hatred against teacher Samuel Paty in the days before he was killed. Now, the author of that video is under arrest at the moment and is also said to have exchanged messages with the killer. Now, the rector of this mosque has expressed extreme regret for sharing that video on the Facebook page of the mosque, and this is a statement that's on the mosque today.
We strongly condemn the savagery. Islam and its teachings categorically condemn such acts. The Grand Mosque of Pantin renews its most sincere condolences to the family and loved ones of Samuel Paty and recalls that violence has no place in our religion, which calls for fraternity and respect for differences.
The heading of that 47-year-old teacher has really struck a nerve here in France. Now, this all unfolded after he gave a civics education lesson at the beginning of October. During that lesson, he was talking about freedom of speech, and he showed controversial images of the Muslim prophet Muhammad, which really upset everyone. And that is the reason that the 18-year-old who murdered him said he did so, because he showed those images. Now, this hits at the heart of this relationship that France has with freedom of expression, the liberty of speech, and it is a lesson that teachers up and down the country give year in, year out, and they now fear that if they continue to do so, there could be some repercussions. Now, this all comes at a time when 13 regions in France have decided to publish a book which contains all of the most controversial religious and political cartoons that will be distributed to schools. We also understand that some hotels and public buildings in the south of France and elsewhere in France will be showing those images, displaying them on their buildings today in a sign of solidarity with Samuel Paty. And we know that some media organisations have also done the same. Many people in France saying they will defend to the nth their right for their freedom of speech.
We thought it was important to be there, especially as I'm studying to be a teacher, so I'm still touched, not directly, but almost. Frankly, I think it's horrible what happened. We're hampering our freedom of expression, the freedom to learn, to know.
It's the values of France, of the Republic, which have been targeted through the murder of Samuel Paty.
Whether it is this professor or another, no matter in which French college or high school, we study this freedom and look at caricatures, not necessarily of Muhammad, but we look at caricatures to show freedom of expression.
Well, there are questions over whether this could incite even more hatred. You know that France has had a long-standing problem with homegrown Islamic radicalism. And in the last few weeks, President Macron set out his stall in what was seen as being pretty much a landmark speech, saying how he was going to fight against this. He talked about a draft bill that's due to be presented in December that will look down at closing homeschooling. It will have closer scrutiny of many organisations, and he said that this was to tackle foreign interference here in France. And, you know, that draft bill which we released in December, we've had little trinkets of what's coming out. But given that we've seen mosques like this being shut down in the wake of that murder of Samuel Paty, President Macron has said he will vow to continue this fight.
Our citizens of Islamic faith must be protected against the evil of radical Islam. I say it here because the will of the Islamists, of its ideologues, is precisely to turn a part of our citizens against the Republic, using their religion, and we cannot let that happen.
But many might say, detractors, that this is perhaps too little too late, particularly given that it's emerged in the last few days that some of those who've been arrested since the murder of Samuel Paty were known for their radical views and known for their ties to radical Islam. So many people saying, is enough being done to stop the rot?